Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the R&M Roundtable. We have a special movie to discuss today. It is the 2021 movie Jujutsu Kaisen 0 that just came out, premiered in the US this past weekend. It's doing a whole bunch of numbers right now, as in like it's doing very well, competing even against the Batman. But yeah, before we get into it, let me just introduce ourselves. For one, I am the host of this segment, Mugen.
I am Brown Bear.
I'm Birdman.
I'm Zero.
And to introduce our newest member, make it official. You are now another member of our R&M squad. It is Melly.
Hi, my name's Melly. I'm giving the female perspective.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's really needed.
Yes, for sure. But also a longtime anime fan as well, so not just that perspective, of course. But it is one that we desperately needed. But yeah, let's get into it, guys. We, as per our out of theater reaction, we grouped up and got to go to this theater together to see it. Something we didn't really do with Demon Slayer, and we had a blast.
Yeah, that was cool. Good seeing everybody.
Good seeing everyone, and just as we alluded to in that video, it was good to see all of the cosplayers and all the fans just showing up. The theater was fairly packed. I mean, there was hardly any empty seats from what I could tell. So our theater, and we are located generally in Texas. We can attest that our theater was pretty packed. So it's an interesting observation how much anime has grown, and just even in the last couple of years, that you can have these wide release animes and not just have a limited screening like they did with some of the My Hero movies and even the Dragon Ball movies. This is a wider release, and it's still doing very well, still bringing out all the fans. So it was a really cool observation, just really fun time. I wish I could have taken more pictures of cosplayers and stuff. There were some pretty good ones.
Yeah, I did. They had a group. It was Maki, Nobara, and I think it was Toge and Yumaki was there.
I want to say so, yeah.
And there was one guy dressed up like a panda.
Oh yeah.
Didn't he have the panda
onesie?
Yeah, the panda onesie. Yeah.
Panda onesie. Yeah.
Oh my God, where was I at? I didn't see none of this.
He sat like 2 rows in front of us.
Yeah, was like right in front of us.
Yeah.
Must have been in the bathroom or something. I don't know.
I guess so.
Yeah. But I know, like, after we grouped up, after we gathered outside, or before we went outside, we ended up seeing some of those cosplayers. It's pretty cool. But yeah, getting into the movie, I do want to ask, because we know this is a very standalone movie, does this movie represent Jujutsu Kaisen, the show itself, very well?
I think it is pretty representative, in my opinion. This movie gives you a good taste of what the show can be. I've heard before this movie can be described as something that you can be a fan of the manga and the show and can go and watch the movie and enjoy the bits and pieces of it. But you also can go into this as your first experience of Jujutsu Kaisen as a medium in general and still get a pretty good idea of what you're getting yourself into. Does it go as deep into the character developments and in some of the arcs? And does it give you the full experience? Probably not so much. It's only an hour-and-a-half movie. They can only do so much to get you there. But overall, it does really capture the feel of the show, I think.
I was just say, yeah, I agree with it too. I mean, I think it's a good starting point for somebody who might be on the fence with actually watching the anime series. I mean, you really do. You have kind of the same elements in the movie as the show, with them fighting the curses and that kind of stuff, and some of the same characters and whatnot. So I think it's a really good starting point for somebody. So if you enjoy the movie, I think you'll enjoy the anime as well.
Although they have to keep in mind that the group we're watching in the movie is not the main focus in the show. So that'll be the difference.
True.
Yes, they do make appearances in the show. However, like, the first years are now second years, but obviously we follow a different group of first years, including a different entirely main character. And I guess we can kind of like go into that. The main character is a boy named Yuta, who is essentially possessed by his deceased. Well, let me get into it without spoiling things. He's essentially is cursed by his deceased would-be marital partner, Rika, who died at a very young age. But the premise itself of Yuta and Rika is actually something that I thought was going to be initially more focused on. You get their backstory, of course, but within maybe just a few minutes, and then it kind of progresses further into the story. I thought there was going to be a little bit more of them initially, like a lot more of the movie was going to be getting into that backstory, but it's actually something that's kind of touched upon, and then you just kind of go with that premise and plot events move forward. That's one of the takes that I had. But it's pretty interesting because this character is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum than Itadori when it comes to being the lead. When we first see him, he's kind of a meek person. He's very unsure of himself as opposed to the lead in the show proper, which is a very different way of going about things, but it's also can be relatable in that sense, because there's a sense of growth that not just in physical strength but just in character as well. Maybe it's because of the design itself. I mentioned this too, Melly. It's almost as if you take Shinji Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion and thrust him into the Jujutsu Kaisen world, and he is now the main protagonist. The one difference, of course,
support.
He has a much better emotional support system here from actual friends and good people at the Jujutsu Kaisen high school, as opposed to Shinji in the show himself. So they go in widely different directions, but it is taking that kind of same character trope or character identity and going with that in this world. And it also helps that, noticing the credits the second time we saw the movie, it is the same voice actor in Japanese as Shinji. So that's another reason why I made that comparison as well.
I feel like if you just watch the movie and then that character is what drew you in, yeah, the movie's going to be like, this is what you're getting, this is what you can expect in the TV series. But if for whatever reason someone's like, oh, I really connect to Yuta, I like his type of personality, I like that, progression, it is going to be different from the season because Itadori is very different in his personality.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
How he does things is very different from how Yuta does things.
Yeah. So how do you guys feel about this main character?
So one thing that really struck me, in terms of the contrast between the two protagonists, yes, they both act very differently, but even their relationships with their curses are very different as well. In the movie, you explore how Yuta and Rika, they're really codependent on each other. Rika depends on Yuta because she needs him to be able to be focused out or to be utilized correctly, or else she's just going to be a wildfire. And Yuta needs Rika to be able to defend himself, just in general. So it's that codependence on each other that really drives that force forward, and you see that progression as the movie goes on, as they each kind of grow into themselves. One a little bit more than the other, of course, but point still stands the same. Whereas in the show, you have Itadori, who's constantly challenging himself, trying to make himself better because he wants to get the upper hand on his own curse. He wants to be better than whatever's inside of him. He's like, well, no, I'm not going to let you define me. I'm going to get stronger than you. Like, I'm going to get better. And so you can't control me anymore. I'm the boss, not you. It's almost like a different power dynamic from each of the movie and the show.
Without a doubt. However, I feel like this really works for the movie. A self-contained story, Yuta makes a much more relatable protagonist than Itadori. And that's in a whole other subject that we may just tackle separately in a video itself. But I mean, as far as main protagonist goes, it's a clear slate for everyone, including fans of the show. Because as we said, this is a prequel and we only heard mentions of this person, but now we get to see this person in action and what they are capable of as a duo.
Yeah, I mean, I was a fan of Yuta and just the development that he got, over the course of the movie, because, I mean, obviously, again, in comparison to Itadori, he's just this kind of frail, weak kind of kid. I mean, who wouldn't be like this traumatized, weak person, when you see, like, the love of your life gets killed in front of you, and then now you have this demon curse thing with you at all times. So I don't know, just his growth, just seeing that over the course of the movie was great. And then I don't want to get too spoilery here, I guess, but like, you know, learning like his heritage, I guess, or his ancestry, and kind of getting the piece together why in such a short time he just becomes just this beast of a fighter or whatever you want to call it. I was a fan. I'm interested in seeing him pop up in the series.
Recommend this film? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, if you are a Jujutsu Kaisen fan, you definitely got to see this movie. And even if you're not a fan, and if you go in like only kind of knowing something or knowing nothing at all, this can make you into a fan. In fact, I've even seen like a post on Twitter today where they watched the movie and they really enjoyed it, and then they go into the series and they're like, "Who the hell's this Itadori? Where's Yuta?"
That's what I'm saying.
It almost has a bit of a whiplash, but it still leads into it very well. It is manga material that's adapted, but it's genius to make this portion a movie because it is that easily accessible. So would I recommend this film? Easily. Because you can go in knowing practically nothing about Jujutsu Kaisen. Maybe a talking panda might throw you off, or a guy who speaks in nothing but sushi ingredients, like bonito flakes and all sorts of things. Yeah, that's kind of funny and odd or whatever, but you kind of get used to it. So yes, I'd recommend this movie, but from here on out, spoiler talk. So let's let it all hang out, guys.
Like anything? Like we can say anything?
Yes.
Okay, so I think it's almost unfair that Yuta is a distant relative of Gojo's. How did Rika get such a strong curse? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's because he's a descendant of a strong sorcerer.
Yeah, because you're led to believe that Rika is just this anomaly, but it actually makes sense because it's Yuta who unwillingly or unknowingly curses her, and then that's why he has this this extremely OP Rika demon energy, and that's why he's able to learn so quickly like the moves and the necessary, I guess, skills to be a extremely powerful Jujutsu sorcerer. You see the character progression so quickly, and in fact it's almost almost too quick in a way.
That good.
He's just that good. And you're like, what? This guy, he's fighting already. You know, like he's already leaving people behind in the dust.
Yeah, and I mean, he even alluded to the fact that he thought, okay, maybe I'm the one who put the curse on Rika when he's talking to Gojo, kind of initially. And, you know, they do their little investigation, basically. And then Gojo's like, oh, yeah, you kind of related to me, guy. So, yeah, that's why you're a beast and whatnot. And I mean, obviously, just knowing Gojo, who is just on a whole different planet compared to everybody.
So when he was, we use the term throwing hands quite loosely here, as in like, oh yeah, they fighting. Now it's like but this guy was quite literally throwing hands. He started busting out these Wing Chun moves on freaking Miguel. Hit him with that 20-piece combo. That was insane. So fluid, of course, from that animation standpoint. But my God, you just know how OP Gojo is. But seeing him physically in that sense as well was also something I wasn't expecting, or at least, I mean, it was at least cool to see, and not just OP sorcerer magic that makes him so strong.
See, that's one of the perks of the movie. Like, you only get like a tiny bit of that in the manga. You know he's fighting, but you don't get to see that animation fighting.
Oh yeah, this is where having a movie adaptation of that material comes in handy, because now it's like, okay, let's show off all of our cool fight scenes and battle moments, and even like show all these cameos that fans of the show could be like, hey, it's Nanami, hey, it's so, even going to like their fight in Kyoto, which you mentioned wasn't really all that seen in the manga whatsoever.
Yeah. Okay, so if I just started reading the manga, but I noticed when re-looking at the manga for the Zero, yeah, you get to see them fighting in Tokyo, but you don't see any of Kyoto. So the movie, they're like, okay, Obviously, our season 1 people know about these characters. We know they're from Kyoto. Let's just throw them in there. So I think they did that for the anime watchers.
Oh, yeah, 100%. They're like, here are these Easter eggs. And we knew when we got there, we just started saying, okay, where's Toto? Where's Toto?
I was hyped for him. Everybody else was out. Where's he at? And he popped up. And it was like, hell yeah. Goes to fight the biggest, baddest thing out there immediately because he had shows to watch. Because like Christmas specials or something he was trying to go watch.
That was fantastic. I love that moment. And anyone who knows his character, like you hear the audience laughing in the theater because we obviously know his character from the show.
Yeah, and they're asking like, "Where's Toto?" And they're like, "Oh, you'll see him soon."
Don't worry, he's gonna have his moment. He's coming. Well, what'd you think of the antagonist, by any chance?
That dude is on some Frieza type stuff. I'm like, he calling everybody monkeys. I'm like, bruh, they took this straight out of Dragon Ball Z, bruh. But I mean, I think he was referring to everybody who wasn't like a sorcerer, because his whole thing was to basically get rid of the regular people in the world. So it's, but I just found that comparison hilarious, because he said it once and I was like, all right. I was like, okay. And then he did it. I was like, oh no, this is a thing. Okay. This dude is referring to them as monkeys. Like that, they are literally regular people, are monkeys to him. I just found that hilarious.
He's that Frieza guy, or even like the Voldemort character, where it's like, I'm just gonna make a perfect race of Jujutsu sorcerers. And what's funny, when we watched the show, when we streamed it, just to get a little background on us, we streamed it as it was airing in October-ish 2020. It was before it even really became popular. It's or at least as massive as it is. We were watching this and we recognized the character Geto, but it had been a long time. We had to ask ourselves, wait, he was in season 1, right? But spoiler alert, as in we're in the spoiler section, it sounded like he got killed at the end. We were questioning, was he in season 1?
I have a theory. I kind of talked this over with my sister and something kind of clicked.
Oh.
So in the movie, we all think, well, he probably did die. So Tosh pointed out, my sister, she's like, hey, I noticed that he doesn't have the marks on his forehead. And I was like, oh, so maybe he did die, but something else happened to him.
Yeah.
Because in the first season, because I've been watching it more recently, this is my 3rd time watching it, there's a lot of times where he says, I cannot be seen. I can't have them see me. And it's just like, oh, because they think you're dead?
Yeah, and that makes more sense, kind of, if you go back to that. I had to ask, I was like, wait, so he can't be seen. Does Gojo know? And we can only assume he doesn't, but I mean, that's just an assumption.
Yeah, I'm assuming the manga readers probably know.
Probably, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just pulled up on my phone. So I didn't even remember the marks on his forehead, but yeah. So I do remember him being more of like a background player. Okay, so that makes sense.
Whereas he's kind of a main player here, and makes for an interesting villain, like a little tropey. Of course, we've seen this kind of villain before, but it serves the story very well, because ultimately it was Yuta and Rika's story. And that's he served to be a good antagonist for this portion of the movie.
I really wished that they had gone further into the backstory between Gojo and Geto, because I know the trailer gave you glimpses, and I thought maybe they would give you more of that, but they didn't.
See, that's another thing too. As I was mentioning earlier, where I thought I thought a good portion of the movie would be about Yuta and Rika's past relationship. You see little flashbacks, and maybe that's all it needed to be in a movie like this. But maybe I think I had a little misconception of what this movie was going to be about, because I thought I was going to go through a feels train, like, oh, this is about to be so tragic, and it hits, but it doesn't hit as hard as maybe I would have liked. If we want to talk about, that's where one thing what the movie can do better. I think the emotional impact was just it was reaching there, but it didn't quite land for me. I think it could have been. I think it could have just doubled down on the tragedy of it all a little more. So I think if it gave it just a little more time. I know you have a runtime of like an hour and a half or an hour 45, but I think we could have just gave just a little bit more. Maybe the impact would have been better for me. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you with that because I mean, it's like you said, it's really flashbacks with Rika and Yuta, and then same thing with Geto and Gojo. You know, they show flashbacks of them, you know, being in the same class at Jujutsu High and whatnot. But outside of that, that's really all you're gonna get, at least for now. So I don't know. They could have done a little bit more there. I don't know. I still overall liked Geto as an antagonist. I liked his ability to, you know, control curses and stuff, and so I don't know. I just wanted them to do more with him, I guess.
Yeah, he felt a little flat. Little flat to me. I thought there could have been a little more like he was a good villain. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from that. But yeah,
he served his purpose. I do like that giant, like, funny enough, the Here Comes the Freezer illusion again. It looked like that giant freaking death ball that he made of like the just all the curses he accumulated, and then he was just gonna attack and one huge attack, and Yuta's like, "Bitch, I got the power of love." Boom.
Pure love.
Pure love. And it helps Gojo's theory that love is probably the most powerful curse that you can have.
I feel like that's the one thing, I guess, the anime watcher, like the series watcher, would probably feel more appreciated towards the Geto character, because we know there's more to him just based off of the anime series. There's more to it. But in the movie, yeah, he doesn't come out. You don't get much about him.
Not at all.
Well, I would say that about like a lot of them, like all of them. Like,
yeah,
you know, I feel like everybody. I mean, that would probably be my biggest. If I had to say, like, one thing they could have did better was introduce the characters a little bit more. We did get to go into Maki's backstory, but again, it was very touched upon.
It was very touched upon, but I actually found a better appreciation for Maki here.
Yeah.
From this, like, I really liked Maki, Toge, and Panda. I mean, I liked Panda from the show because it's a panda, and you're like, man, I want to see this panda fight.
Panda throwing hands. We waited for weeks. We waited for weeks while they're streaming.
We were watching it as it was airing. So yeah, we were waiting. I'm like, man, I just want to see Panda fight. You know, we're just joking with each other. But you get an actual appreciation for Maki, Toge, and Panda here. I think that's where at least those three shine very well, where they become regulated to like background characters in the anime.
Yeah, for people
the
who watch
anime. I guess I was talking more for the people who are new and are just watching this for the first time. I mean,
true.
You know, like for us, like we definitely got, you know, like I said, I definitely felt for her a little bit more, and I did get more of an appreciation. But for those that are, you know, that are brand spanking new, I can see how that might fall just a little flat. You just wanted to see just maybe a little bit more, but again, you got an hour and 45 minutes, so
yeah.
We got to move on.
Definitely the advantage of a show versus a movie, but overall, I think they did a fine job. I guess for the fans, you get a deeper appreciation for the characters, and I think they showed enough of, you know, Toge and even Maki in terms of their abilities and stuff. And
for me, Panda. Toge, I feel like he got more appreciation or attention on the movie than he did in the anime. Like, I feel like I got more of his 100%. Powers through the movie than I did with the anime.
Yeah, and you could see how caring he is as a person, and
but like how strong his powers are.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, his just the ability, and then like just his caring personality and whatnot. Like you get a little bit of the ability in the show, but just not to the level of the movie. Like, he gets his own mission that he goes on with Yuta, and just goes in the store and gets like throat medicine and stuff, because he's like, yeah, I'm about to just go off here. And that he does, and yeah, like, his power is just so crazy. So again, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him in the show, and same with Maki. Like, I'm actually really interested. I mean, I liked Maki before, but I'm really interested now to see, you know, if they do touch upon like her going back home and whatnot, and take out the clan and whatnot.
Yeah.
Zero, as you mentioned it, Toge's power is like, he has like the ultimate sit boy, where you said, get crushed, boom.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, again, it's like Gojo so just broken. Like, yeah, man, he normally goes on his own missions. Like, he don't need a team. Nah, he good.
Yeah. It's so powerful. Of course, the only drawback is it hurts his voice, and it messes him up. He could be coughing up blood sometimes.
Yeah, a good moment for Yuta as well there. Just, kind of playing that, having to jump into that second role. He thought he was just there to watch. And of course, we all knew that wasn't going to be the case. But it's like, again, I liked how their dynamic was there. And as well as building on Toge's character. He really didn't want to put him in harm's way at all. He's like, I'll deal with it. And Yuta's like, no, you won't.
Can we talk about how amusing Panda was in this movie? He actually had me laughing the most.
Panda's great.
He's just a great character.
He was trying to be the ultimate wingman. And yeah, he's like, funny story when it comes to his realization about, hey, Maki's having a lot of fun. And then he's like, he has that realization. But that moment when he did, I don't know about you guys, but both Melly and I actually thought the movie froze, like it buffered. I'm like, hold up, this isn't streaming. This is on film. What was
I thought
it,
the
like,
same thing.
You thought the same thing too? I'm glad I wasn't. I'm glad we weren't the only ones.
It held a good couple of frames in the middle.
And there was no noise.
Yeah, he's like, and then he asked, do you like big boobs or small boobs? That was too funny.
Yeah, that was a funny moment there.
No, okay, so I'm glad I wasn't the only one who thought that. It did hold quite a few frames, and it threw me off for a sec. I'm like, oh no, something's wrong here.
I was expecting the buffering circle.
Oh yeah, the little symbol. I'm like, oh no.
We're about to get a refund is what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, that was very amusing to me. I mean, aside from Todo, his little introduction, I think Panda was the most amusing character for me. Also Gojo had his moments. I think there's so many Gojo fangirls in the theater, especially the second time we saw it. Every time he's on screen, you hear audible like squeals, yes, exactly, especially if he's showing his eyes. It's like, oh, it's time to get serious.
I was cracking up when he was showing his eyes and he walked in the classroom, and all the students were like, "Who are you?" And he's like,
"Come on, I'm your handsome teacher. Like, it's me."
Have you not seen these eyes?
It actually made sense to me. Like, I didn't even think about that. Like, yeah, the students doesn't know what he looks like underneath the bandages. He looks wildly different. They're like, who the hell are you? Starts lecturing me at the end of the movie. That was great. It's a great moment.
Hey man, can we talk about how when Yuta walked in the room and it was on site? Like, it was literally on site for Maki.
They went up on him.
That was like, they jumped. Oh, but they was ready. I was like, oh shoot.
That was a strong moment in the film. It's like visually everything gets red. You hear his steps and you see this curse and everyone just has this death stare like, what the hell, And they go up on him and then Gojo's like, oh yeah, I should have mentioned, this is a place for curses. And he's like, why did you tell me this before? Like, what? This is that kind of school? He intentionally withheld that information. They're like, come on, yo.
And same thing, like, he's like, oh, you might not want to attack him. And they're like, why didn't you say that before? He's like, sorry.
They were all about to get
you know what
messed
you
up.
were doing.
They were about to lose that fight real quick.
They had no idea.
Gojo teacher of the year.
The first time we actually see Rika, they're trapped in that giant demon in the elementary school, and Maki's like, look, you're the only one who can do this. You're the one who can save us. And then she's like, I'm gonna use Rika, and Rika busts out, and it's like another Evangelion parallel. It's like a ravenous Eva beating down an angel and just messing them up, blood everywhere. It was just wild.
Tearing at them, and then Gojo's like, ooh, scary.
Ooh, scary.
Oh, spooky.
Yeah. For real.
Rika definitely had the bloodlust because
Had that bloodlust. And you mentioned
crazy.
you saw on our second viewing, you're the one who saw the ring on her.
Yeah. So on our first viewing, she was like so pretty, and I'm like, the blood is so pretty. But on
She's
the
demented. Oh,
second viewing, I saw that she had the ring on. I'm like, okay.
That's what
I
makes
didn't catch
sense.
that. Okay.
Not catch
I didn't even
either.
catch that in
That's a
two
good
viewings.
catch.
She don't have the bloodlust, but it seemed like she did. And she's just a powerful demon that's just like, oh, I'm so pretty, blah, blah, blah. you can't talk about this movie and not talk about its stellar animation via Mappa and all those tired animators. It's very well documented how overworked they are in a lot of animation studios pushing their animators, but that is like a topic for a whole nother time anyway. But they did stellar work with the show, and again, extremely stellar work here. Since the show was so good, it didn't seem like anything too major, like as an improvement from what they've done. Maybe that's just a testament to how well they produced the show, but it seemed like fairly on par animation with the show. And you know, aside from some great effects work with, you know, the final battle between Yuta and Geto, for the most part, it looked pretty standard from the show. And maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want that consistent look. But sometimes there are like anime movies that go above and beyond for a movie. And this one was just pretty much on par. I would say Demon Slayer pushed the limit a little bit more in terms of animation. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I mean, I might just be biased on Demon Slayer, but I did think the animation was really good. And
of course,
like I said, I've been more of an animation guy lately. I've been trying to pay more attention to those kinds of details and stuff like that. And yeah, they did not disappoint.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those that tries to pay more attention. There's so many more people that are more knowledgeable than me, and you can go on these blogs like Sakuga Boro, and people tell you this animator does that animator does that, and I enjoy videos like that. So I'm learning more about these animators behind the movie, and just the amount of work that they do, and just hardly any recognition. I think it's cool that people are recognizing these animators more so, because they're the ones that are making these things as appealing as they are. Like half of it is just driven by that animation, and it's so neat to look at, you know. So props to them, props to the director, the character designers, and all of them, because they do a stellar job, and this movie was no different. Some of the highlights animation wise would be the Gojo versus Miguel fight. You know, they were just going from building top to building top, and it was extremely dynamic in that sense. So that was a really cool fight to watch from an animation standpoint, and even from like a story standpoint as well.
The Yuta Geto fight at the end was really good as well. Like right when they were getting rid of, like when Yuta had let everything out and Rika was pairing with him, and there was a lot of combination moves they were doing together that really just captured me.
Oh, didn't you notice what did he do that was Nanami's attack? What was that?
Oh, Red Flash.
The Red Flash. Okay, so yeah, he goes in and like his sword ends up breaking, and then Geto says something along the lines of, "Oh, didn't Gojo ever teach you any better?" And then he just gets knocked in his face. Well, that was the Red Flash technique.
That's gonna be one thing if you're just watching the movie, you have never seen the anime show. That's one thing you're not gonna catch on to. But if you watch the anime series and you know what a Red Flash is, you know that's a very hard, powerful attack that not everyone can learn. And Yuta, like a boss,
Yuta like a boss, like a freaking boss.
Learned in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I just learned this yesterday because I'm a natural.
Oh, and by the way, I also just happened to learn Toge's technique too, just for funsies.
Just for funsies.
Yes.
Yeah,
they did that. That was cool too.
That was you know,
real dope.
it gives you hints that like this guy, even because it brings up that question, like now that Rika is gone, is he as powerful? Well, the man's super talented, so I don't think his power was coming from Rika. It certainly helped like draw it in, but yeah, he's gonna be like, he can easily be one of the top sorcerers, just based on his growth alone.
Like, I'm just excited for him to pop up in the show. Like him, I just want to see him and Itadori just in action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I'm really looking forward to those two together. Like that's gonna be hype.
Very much so. And let's talk about that post-credit scene. If now that we're here, just all of a sudden we knew there was going to be a post-credit scene going in. We just didn't know what it was going to be, of course. And then it's Yuta, a little bit older. His hair's grown out a little bit. You're like, they're eating, and it turns out they're eating in Kenya, because that's what Miguel was mentioning. Like him and Miguel were just eating and just chilling. Like, didn't you guys? I mean, I know they didn't meet each other, but they were on opposite sides of the playing field.
Exactly.
And it's
like,
just,
wait, like didn't Gojo? your teacher was just beating the brakes off this dude, and you're just eating with him. Like what? How did this happen?
Might have skipped a few chapters there.
Yeah, well, what's going on there? There was an audible confusion with everyone in the theater, like, what?
And then you got the more confusion when Gojo just walks up and it's like, wait, what the?
That is not in the manga either. So
really?
Yeah, I was like, huh?
So nobody knows.
Yeah.
Great.
Maybe it's just a bridge from current events to like, all right, let's bring you into like season 2, or I don't know how it's gonna actually go, but.
Or maybe it's like that one Avengers post credit where they're just eating shawarma for no reason. Like it's just they just really want to have shawarma.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Or even another example is like where they introduce Thanos and it's like, okay, cool, they're gonna bring him in. Well, it's gonna take several years.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not like the Thanos thing where it'll take several years for him to come and maybe seasons down the line. But as just an anime watcher, I'm at least excited to see where it goes. Because I do want to see more of Yuta in the show. And I guess just kind of as a point about, like, we know Miguel, but all the other sorcerers that were on in Geto's group, like Nanako, Mimiko, and all that, I guess, like, going back to that point where they didn't get a whole lot of time to shine, I guess they all just kind of left after seeing how OP Gojo was. Because when you see how OP Gojo is, you're like, why even bother fighting? Like, I'm just gonna leave. Like, I have a feeling that's what Miguel did and everyone else did.
Yeah. He was. Miguel was fighting. I gotta stay out. Like, let me just focus on running.
Yeah, I'm gonna do all I can to live.
That man was counting down the minutes. He said, I only got 15 minutes, 12 minutes.
Yeah, 12 minutes. I'm gonna ass beat for 12 minutes. Yeah, so.
That kind of reminds me something. Maybe it's just because of the young girls that were on Geto's side.
Yeah, Nanako and Himiko.
Yeah,
or
so like
Mimiko.
near the end of the movie where, Geto and Gojo are having their little discussion before potential kill-off. Like he mentions that he knew that if he sent Toge and Panda over there, it would force Yuta to fight, but he knew he wouldn't kill them. So that's probably something where I was like, I guess I wish I understood more about Geto, because from that little information, we know that he wouldn't have killed young sorcerers.
Yeah, I mean, we knew he was like part of the Jujutsu High, and so there is kind of like this I wouldn't say sympatheticness to him, but we know he has some sort of set of morals. I mean, he doesn't like humans, he calls them monkeys, but he has his moral code that he follows, and it seems like there is some small bit of humanity in his character that we only really get hints at.
I mean, I thought that he had said something about, like, not really having beef with the Jujutsu High and respecting all the sorcerers and whatnot there. So I think that's really why he just, that Gojo knew that he wouldn't kill him, because it's like his beef isn't exactly with them.
Yeah, I mean, as Gojo said too, like, didn't he call him his best friend, or at least alluded to, I got this from my best friend, and clearly he was talking about Geto. There is that relationship there, that maybe it's the Naruto Sasuke thing, where no matter how bad it is, there is still hope. But again, it also sounds like he died, so it's confusing on what's going on there, but maybe down the line we'll know. That covers just about all topics we want to talk about. I mean, fun movie overall, right, guys?
Yeah, I
really
enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, anime's huge.
What'd you think, Pin?
Good point, Pin.
We love to tease Pin. We love to tease Pin. I mean, he's a good guy, but.
Okay, so here's a question. Who would you not recommend this film to?
Non-anime fans. It's just that simple. I mean, there's people who are open to watching anime, and I don't know if this film is going to get you to watch anime. I mean, it's still a solid film, so it may make you think twice about anime. But I guess for the general public who doesn't give a crap, and it's not as easily accessible with, like, they're gonna think a talking panda is weird or Toge is weird for all he says. I mean, even if it makes sense in the story, it's hard to get over those leaps, I think, for non-anime fans maybe. So that would be my answer, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, even if it sounds like pretty obvious, you know, there is that. That's why I wanted to get into that. Like, you know, it's just, I don't know if this will bring in new people. I mean, it could. I could very well be wrong, and you know, there might be more open-minded people who aren't anime fans that will go into this and be interested in the series and all that, because it is, like I said, it's a very solid movie. But maybe it'll be hard for some people to take that leap.
Itadori stands.
Itadori stands. So basically, if you like the show,
Itadori fans, or is it Sukuna simps?
Sukuna. Ooh. You know what?
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right.
There is that side of the fan base, isn't there? Yeah. Good question. I will say good question. But yeah, it's time for us to wrap it up. It's been fun. Jujutsu Kaisen 0. It's a very popular anime theatrical movie. Go watch it if you're a fan.
Or watch it if you like anime.
Go watch it if you like anime. Go watch it if you're a fan. Whatever. You might find something. Unless you're just closed-minded, then whatever.
Just watch it.
Just watch it. Once again, thank you so much for watching this edition of R&M Roundtable. We want to do another quick shout out to our patron, Thomas Holdsworth. We appreciate the continued support. If you'd like to join our Patreon to get exclusive content early, you can always follow the link below. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with our videos. And as always, remember to join the nation to continue the conversation. This is Mugen signing off.